So the other night, I saw a video on TikTok of this black woman breaking down, absolutely having a full on meltdown about being laid off from her job. And it made me cry because it was so relatable. And I'm not going to embed the video here, I'll link it below. Full disclosure, trigger warning, especially if you are a black woman or a black person that has ever been the only or the token black person. Tread lightly if you're going to click that link and watch it. I watched it and I was in tears. It was just so relatable on so many levels, and also validating in a lot of ways to see someone talk about an experience that you've lived yourself, right? That a lot of people don't talk about. But in the video, this woman, through tears, is detailing her experience as being the only or the token black woman in her industry. She's based out of California. And, you know, having worked there several times, I know exactly what it feels like to be the only black person walking about or in your office. So in the video, she talks about being laid off from her job as a bartender. And just a couple of weeks ago, apparently they gave her a raise and a small bonus. Come to find out, they did that to sort of hold her over and appease her, while behind the scenes, behind her back on the low, they went and hired a white woman who they then offered a salaried managerial position to. And from what she described in this video, it sounded like that salary and that position should have been offered to her. I'm going to quote a little bit of what she said in the video. She said, "I am so sick and tired of walking on eggshells, abiding by people, being labeled as aggressive when I barely even raise my voice. To sit up in there and control my anger, control my temper around those motherfucking people just for y'all to use me and then tell me it's not your performance, it's not your fucking hard work. It's not none of that shit. We got to do what's best for the business." Whew. Now, first off, before I get into how I feel about and my thoughts on what she said, I just want to commend her so much for being vulnerable and sharing that experience. Number one, it's not easy to cry in front of other people, especially strangers on the internet, where we know people can be mean as hell. And number two, it's not easy to talk about these types of experiences, which many of us live and have lived over and over again. And often we just sort of compartmentalize them and suppress them. And we don't really have an opportunity to talk about them. And so I just, again, want to commend her for putting that out there. Her username is Aesthetics on Nash. She is a content creator and documentary filmmaker. Again, you can follow her on Instagram and TikTok. Now, let me get into how I'm feeling about this. I'm going to put my little DEI hat on, my little research cap on, as I typically do. And sis, if you are seeing this, I heard you it sounded like you were making a commitment to yourself to do your own thing. Go for it. There are tons of us out here who have made the choice to work for ourselves. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. It is difficult. It is extremely, extremely difficult to be an entrepreneur, especially as a black woman in a society that has not been designed or set up for you to succeed. However, it is a different ball game when you are able to be in control of your work, who you work with, your income sources, the type of work you're doing, everything. It is different, and it is truly a weight for me and a lot of people that I know, other black women that I know that are entrepreneurs. It is truly a weight off of your shoulders to not have to deal with the discrimination, the constant micro and macro aggressions in the workplace, the questions about your hair, the solicited and unsolicited touching of your hair. When they say protect your peace, becoming an entrepreneur, while stressful as a black woman, can certainly be part of protecting your peace. Now, this video that Aesthetics on Ash posted is so timely because I just read an article that came out last week that was talking about how Black women are leaving corporate America to become entrepreneurs, and we apparently are leaving in significant numbers. And it is a fact that the percentage of Black women in the US labor force, meaning not just in corporate office workspaces, but also in the services industry as well, the number of women in the labor force decreased. Now, I want to pause to break this down for you. According to the 2020 U.S. Census, Black women only account for 7% of the total U.S. population, which is roughly 21.69 million. And according to the U.S. Department of Labor, as of 2020, of those 21.69 million, 18.09 million are of legal working age. The Department of Labor also found that in 2019, only 60.5% of those were part of the workforce, or 10.95 million, and in 2020, that number decreased to 58.8%, or roughly 10.64 million. That may seem insignificant, but Black women also only account for 6.6% of the entire U.S. workforce. What I'm about to tell you next is going to really put things into perspective. It's also really important to note that pandemic-related unemployment has affected Black women more than any other group in the U.S. And one of the biggest reasons for that is because Black women are actually overrepresented in low-paying service sector jobs in the U.S., which were among the hardest that were affected in terms of job losses and unemployment in the States as a result of the pandemic. Now, from our side of things, as Black women becoming entrepreneurs, like I said, this is it's good. It's looking nice over here. This is nice. It is nice, right? Like I said, we're no longer dealing with the workplace discrimination, the microaggressions, the macroaggressions, the having to suppress or making sure that we're not presenting as the angry Black woman in workplaces, right? It is truly a weight off of your shoulders to not have to do that and conform to these workplace unwritten rules and expectations that, quite frankly, don't serve us. We have control over our time. We have control over our money. We have control over the types of work that we do. We no longer have to tiptoe around out of fear of being perceived as aggressive or angry, which you would think by now that sort of stereotype or perception would be done and dusted in 2023, but apparently it's not. We no longer have to deal with people that are calling us out in the workplace for wanting to simply just do our jobs and not wanting to fraternize or socialize outside of our job description. We don't have to deal with questions about our hair or have people physically touching us with or without permission as if we're part of a petting zoo. We're working smarter and not harder, right? And no longer going above and beyond having to constantly conform to these unwritten rules of the workplace that, quite frankly, even if we do conform, they're still not getting us that promotion or that bonus or whatever else that we're going after. So for us, it's a pretty solid deal over here in entrepreneurial land, you know? And I will say it again, entrepreneurship is not easy. I've talked about it in other videos. It has been one of the most challenging things that I've done for myself, but at the same time, it has been one of the most rewarding things. And for me personally, the stress level just does not compare to dealing with workplace discrimination, whether direct or indirect. But while it's nice for us as Black women, it's gonna be a problem for America. America has a problem. Dun, 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 dun. No, but seriously, having more Black women leave the workforce is going to be problematic for a lot of organizations. We already know for a fact, and again, there's plenty of data out there, that the more racial diversity an organization has, the more innovative they are going to be, which in turn means the more profitable that they can be. And this is even more so the case when there are a diverse set of leaders that are driving change forward. Now, something else you may not be aware of is the fact that Black spending power in the US hit a record $1.6 trillion in 2021. $1.6 trillion. That's a lot of zeros. And this may come as no surprise, but the data has also shown that Black women are truly the ones behind building and driving forward that spending power. And a lot of this is tied to the fact that a lot more Black women are turning to entrepreneurship. We're also seeing a lot more brand loyalty now. And our buying power is actually defining mainstream culture. Yep. And there's data out here and reports from researchers such as Nielsen. I'll link their report below. But anecdotally, we can pretty much look across a variety of social platforms and we can see the influx of successful Black women and influencers and entrepreneurs across different industries. So if you lack a significant representation of Black women in your organization, or if your organization is not set up to offer a safe space for Black women to thrive, it's time to seek help. And shameless plug, I'm accepting some new clients this year. As Black women, we are becoming more aware of where we are and are not welcomed and respected. And we're also calling more people out because quite frankly, we are tired. Capital T-I-R-E-D. We are tired. Listen, we're owning in on our power. We're becoming more self-aware. We're gaining even more confidence. We're building capital, gaining income. And you can bet your bottom that a lot of us are becoming much more intentional about where we spend our hard-earned money. So again, if you lack Black women in your organization, if there is a lack of representation when you are promoting your products and we don't see many Black women, you are setting your organization up for failure. Just saying. Now, really quickly, if you are a Black woman that is working in the workforce and you're not interested in entrepreneurship or you're not ready for it, that is okay. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, but make sure that you know your worth. While no organization will ever be perfect, I, from a professional standpoint, as a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant and thought partner, can tell you that not all spaces are created equal. Some are better than others, and it is possible to find safer spaces to work in. So don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. Don't be afraid to shut down disrespect. Ask for a raise, ask for a promotion, seek out another role at a different organization if that's what it takes. If necessary, look for a mentor or even a sponsor that is outside of your organization, because if the representation isn't there, you're probably not going to find that support. But do what you need to do. Do not tolerate any BS. Also, if you are the only Black woman within your organization, within your office or industry or whatever it may be, we see you, we thank you, we support you, we appreciate you. Many of us have been there before, but never, and I mean never, feel like it is your job or responsibility to represent all Black women or to speak for all Black women. Period. Shut it down. It's not your job. You are you. You are an individual. While we may share this common identity, it is not your job to be the token. It is absolutely not. So that's all for now. You can check the description for the links to the reports, articles, and other stats that I mentioned. This video is part of a playlist series called It's the Bread Aisle, which is a series that is dedicated to highlighting topics and issues relevant to Black women. You can check out more on my page. If you're into it, like the video, subscribe, share it with a friend, and please come back. I'm always dropping new content, new videos, and all that good stuff. All right, y'all.